afternoon guys, and welcome to today's vlog. Today is pretty much just a stroll, walk if you like, and a catch up of what's been going on. Yeah, I might have seemed quiet over the last week when I'm a regular weekend uploader, and basically to wish you all season's greetings, Merry Christmas, whatever you have. If you celebrate it, you don't celebrate it, but yeah, let's start with my sister. The situation with Debs, my beautiful sister, unfortunately, is a tragic one. As you may have seen by the title of this video, it's not exactly festive, being the last Christmas, etc. My sister is currently in possibly final days, perhaps a week, at a local hospice called Wham Hospice in Milton Keynes. The story, which I'll go along when I tell her life at a later date, is that she's come down with this brain tumour cancer, which is, she's been fighting it for 7 years. If anyone watches your soaps, it's the Lola in EastEnders, that's exactly what she's got, but my sister's got the most extreme type you can get of that. She went through all sorts of treatment, etc. Worked for a period of time, she was in remission, it come back, she beat it again, it come back, beat it again, come back again, and she's left with a situation there's not much they can do for her. She felt poorly late in the summer. She was taken into Wham Hospice as a respite. She seemed to have a little bit of an upturn, she seemed to be getting a bit better. So they released her into the care of a place called the Mallards, which is a neurological disorder. It's won awards for what it does. People with brain trauma, all sorts of injuries to the head, etc. Put her there for more respite, and it was totally the wrong place for her, to say but the least. She was abused there. She called out and said that they'd hurt her. Someone come and investigated and found bruises all over her arms. She was left in her home, excrement, etc. for over 3 hours before someone attended to her. And at that time it was the people that we called out. So obviously I was furious. I got her away from there and managed to get her to our home for 1 week or 6 days. Which she had an upturn for a couple of days, and then after that she spiraled downhill again, to the extent that we had to call out. We had care teams in 4 times a day as it was. We had to call out district nurses, etc. And we also had the Wham Hospice team looking after her as well. But she spiraled downhill again. We had emergency calls because she was stopped taking the meds in pill form. They had to be injected, which we obviously can't do. So the Wham Hospice team turned around and said again they were going to take her back in again. This would be end of life procedure, and they said an ambulance would be there within 4 hours. So 11 hours we waited for this ambulance. In that time we had nurses come out to administer sedatives to keep my sister under control on 3 separate occasions. And this is all to do with the staff on the NHS, etc. being undermanned, underpaid, and it's all pretty much down to the people at the top level of the government. It's all fine for us to stand there rattling our pots and pans 2 years ago, giving them a round of applause, but then to basically crap on them. Whereas the MPs, etc. get their nice little pay increase every year, and other guys are suffering. So I understand that. It just means that people, like folks like ourselves, we had to endure that for 11 hours, which was not pleasant at all. As it stands, Deb's sort of kind of stable for a bit, and then she drifts in and out, but it's not long. So for us, Christmas has pretty much been destroyed. Hopefully not forever. Hopefully in a few years I'll have more of looking back at fond memories of the times that we spent together growing up, rather than all the nastiness that's going on at the moment, but I can't personally see beyond it at this point. As it stands, we're going up every day, sometimes a couple of times a day. Christmas Day itself, we will go and visit my nan in a hospital. She's in a care home because she's got dementia, so she doesn't even know what day, week it is, doesn't even know who she is 9 times out of 10. And we'll visit her in the morning, then we'll visit my sister. After that we'll come back, do our lunch. I will do a lunch for my sister. Probably won't be able to eat it, but that's just the principle of it. I've got to take it to her. We'll go back again on Christmas Day, and I will see out all of the rest of Christmas Day sitting by my sister's bedside. It's all I can do. In a way, I felt selfish because I wanted this one last Christmas with my sister, which I don't think is too much to ask. But also at the same point, I want to be at peace, if you know what I mean. So I've got an element of guilt going through me that I want this last Christmas, but I don't want to be in suffering or pain anymore. We have a large bird of prey there sitting in a tree. I think that's a red kite, possibly. I think myself, nearly a fortnight ago, this would have been basically a winter wonderland. The snow come down just for a few hours on the Sunday night, and it was so cold for the week that it didn't melt. Then the latter part of last weekend it started tipping it down, and it's pretty much been steady rain on and off ever since. So unfortunately you didn't get the winter wonderland, you just got the wet wonderland. But this is a quite tranquil, peaceful place. Squirrel there going along in the distance. There's all these places going to be full of squirrels, probably the odd rat because we're right next to the Grand Union Canal. Got the River Ouse to the left of me, the Grand Union Canal to the right. Set of allotments coming up now, which is like basically greenhouses and little vegetable patches that people privately own or rent and can grow their own stuff because the prices are going through the roof nowadays. Christmases and times I remember obviously go back to the early 70s, through the 80s, 90s, millennium years, etc. and now on to today. Growing up, obviously it was with me sister, me mum, dad, me grandparents, and the gifts I will remember were the likes of your Action Man. I got the eagle eye, so you had his little button in the back of his head and his eyes would turn left and right. That I had a big plastic tank with him. I had a diver's like frog suit for him as well, and I think I had like a James Bond version as well, if I remember rightly. Also I had a lot of Star Wars merchandise. I had the, I'm trying to think what it's called. It's like the little car that Luke Skywalker's in with Obi-Wan, that they go through the desert and it just hovers. I always wanted the AT-AT or the Millennium Falcon, but that was far too expensive back in the early 80s. I never got a bike, never asked for a bike. What I wanted, but at the time I wanted other stuff, so I never got it, was a big track, which was like a vehicle you could tap in information, it would drive off and then do a route that you've chosen, that you've programmed into it. That was a big thing at the time. Had Scalextrics, Meccano sets I enjoyed, little writing sets, plastic toy guns, the little Cadbury's machines. You get like, you put in 2p at the time, put it in the top, and a little tiny chocolate bar will come out the bottom. Used to love them, and things like the old Christmas stocking. Back in the day, Nowadays you get it a selection box, and it's a box with over a plastic shroud with things fitted in, similar back in the day, but they were embedded in the plastic tray at a shape, but it had like a netted bag over it, and that's why it was originally called a Christmas stocking that you get. Obviously the candy's changed over the years. You have things like Spangles, which were like a soft fruity sweet, or they're hard boiled. They might have been hard boiled actually. Treats were one of my favourites, which is like a cross between a toffee and a peanut M&M mixed together. They were in a yellow bag. They were beautiful. Haven't seen them in donkey's years. Snickers was a marathon in the UK back then. We had opal fruits. What are they called now? I can't remember what opal fruits are called now. But yeah, you had all them sort of sweet things. But yeah, fond memories, just having time with my parents, my grandparents, obviously my sister. It was just brilliant times. And now unfortunately with what's happening, it seems to be a bygone era. That's, has it lost Christmas for me altogether? But I hope not, certainly hope not, because it's some period of time I've always loved and enjoyed. But yeah, I remember my dad would sit there carving the turkey with my granddad, and it would be so many bits for the plates to go out, and the rest of him they'd be chowing down on. He'd get the old turkey bone and eat on that. Yeah, really fond memories of that. Do I actually still believe in Santa and Christmas itself? That's a good question. I do, but I have it as reason being that I believe that Christmas itself is an ideology. I'm a big lover of the film, 1970s version of the film Scrooge with Albert Finney, the musical. You've got to watch it, it's a brilliant Christmassy movie. Talking of which, I watched Die Hard last night, which I absolutely adore. Bit controversial, but people turn around and say it isn't a Christmas movie, but I believe that is, and so is Rocky 4. But then technically so is Gremlins, anything set at Christmas really. Yeah, for me Christmas is an ideology. I believe growing up, you believe in Santa, the big chubby guy with a red suit on. It's pretty much like what my dad was like. And he would obviously give you the gifts, and you'd absolutely love it, and I loved that period of time for that. Then obviously as I got older, and you get to realise certain things in the world, certain things that happen, and your presents are bought by your parents, etc., and other relatives and friends, that's when the ideology of it sets in, that it is the season of goodwill and giving, and people passing that on and keeping that throughout their lives year on year out really does depict to me that that's what Christmas is about, the ideology. It doesn't have to be about one particular person. We all go on about I love God, etc. I've never been a man of faith at all, so why not be able to believe in something like that if you can believe in something of that boundary, which also people dispute because there's so many different gods.
Christmas.
Merry Christmas, Robbie.
Thank you.
I love you so much. Thank you for everything you do and everything you always do. You're always there.
It's starting to tip it down again, so I shall switch over to going to show you guys some things at night and then call it quits for the year, or between now and Christmas anyway. I simply couldn't go without showing you guys the Christmas lights in Bletchley just before I sign off for Christmas and the week in between Christmas and the New Year. So throat's still a bit gravelly, sorry about that, but yeah, we'll go down there. I'll show you what it is. Basically Bletchley's a town that died many years ago, or let's just say it's defunct. There's not any shops of real purpose there anymore, so they've done a great job on the lights, but it tells its own story. I'll show you when we get there. What you can see as we just come into view, that light there in the distance, that is Captain Ridley shooting party. It's a Wetherspoons, a local public house. Prior to that, it used to be the Bletchley Arms, which was run once by, I don't know if you guys know your wrestling at all. We've got your American style wrestling. You also, at the same time, in the late 70s, early 80s, you had your British wrestling and your likes of Big Daddy, Giant Haystacks, etc. Now, the former proprietor of the pub there, the Bletchley Arms, was none other than Johnny Kincaid. Quite a successful wrestler in his time. Before he owned this public house back in the day, he owned the Bow Bells on the Lakes Estate, which is where I come from. So, a bit of history for you there. It's called Captain Ridley Shooting Party now. It's something to do with a secret code word years back during the Second World War, because it's all named to do with the code breakers around Bletchley. That pub there, it's a secret code word for a part, like a meeting going on, the war guys from Bletchley Park, and there's a secret tunnel that runs between Bletchley Park and the 8 Bells in West Bletchley. It's been bricked up, you can't gain access to it, but they would go and form there, have their meetings, discuss things, and that's how the Second World War was won, from these guys. And this is it as we enter Bletchley itself. As I said, the town has been pretty defunct for years. All your main stores have long gone. When the city centre, Central Milton Keynes, opened, everyone went there, and it systematically shut down over the last couple of decades. Not a heck of a lot of it left now, to be honest with you. As we turn this corner here is where the old picture house used to be in Bletchley. I queued around the block there in 1978 for Grease. Blockbuster comes from that term, as when the old people would come round there and queue around the blocks for them. I also see Jaws there in 74. Got up at the end of the film and cried because I couldn't understand why they killed the shark. I didn't know what the shark had done wrong. Right in front of you, this is Bletchley Town Centre. Back in the day, that used to be, I think you could call it perspex, fiberglass, like a canopy there, and the market was situated there. Woolworths would have been to your left, stores like Rumbelows, etc. It was full of stores, and they said they've all gone. To move right over the back there, behind the tailors, that will be where the modern leisure centre is. The old leisure centre used to have a huge multi-storey car park where them apartment blocks are now. And back in the day, it was the Vauxhall Motor Company used to use it as a background to do their photo shoots for the new flyers for their vehicles. So if you owned a Vauxhall Nova back in the day, the photo shoot was done back there. As I said, this is the market area. Not much left of it now. Smarts is actually a really good chippy. We tend to go there. It's coming up to Christmas Eve. Soon we will go there, we queue up, get ourselves fish and chips. Always a tradition for us. You can see the lights there in the distance. That's my main aim for being here. Don't know what you would call this, sense of loyalty perhaps to my sister. And growing up, this is where we've grown up. Still live our lives around here. Obviously my sister would have no clue what's going on. She can't see anything anymore. She's coherent at the moment, but she wouldn't understand any of this, what I'm filming right now. I could tell her where I am, which I certainly will do. I'm sort of doing this at her honour, to be honest with you. And to be honest with you also, I would say, if not on par with, that is probably the best Christmas lights display I think I've ever seen in 51 years of living in Bletchley. It really does look beautiful. I don't know whether the Canon G7X brings it to life or not, but it's just a sea of beautiful lights. At one point I actually thought that was a bear with a set of antlers on, but I think it's actually a moose. I know the likes of Ventures of Paul and AP have been down here. they don't live local. I think AP's kind of, at the moment, he sort of floats around. Merry Christmas to you guys. Yeah, it's quite peaceful. I think this is something I needed to do. Clear the head a bit. I believe you can see the colours. The camera should pick them up. It is a bit bouncy as I'm walking along. I think when you're going along at night you don't get the same steadiness, but it's all good. Yep, I am really impressed with that. We always have a tree. There's a tree in the middle over there. I mean, they could have strung the lights out a bit further, but that is an exceptional job in my view. Guess I'm just glad with this town, like many others, that the vandals haven't set about. You do get nasty stories of people setting fire to the Christmas trees. Luckily enough, I don't believe that's ever happened here. There's a lot of effort by local communities, charities that have set about making this happen, so I'm thankful to them. It's actually quite eerie. If you look down, I suppose it's about maybe 10:30 at night now. A few stragglers about. I think we'll walk up into the bandstand and have a final look. All lit up itself. One of these used to be situated at the market at the further end. But yeah, that's pretty. Well, a huge thank you to all you guys who have watched throughout 2022. I will be back at some point between Christmas and the New Year to do another vlog, and then it's onwards and upwards from there. A few exciting things planned for sure. I hope you've enjoyed this. Been a bit of a somber vlog, to be honest with you. Just shows you that not everyone can celebrate Christmas in a particular way they would like to. Some of you guys might not even celebrate Christmas, and for you guys, respect to you, and hope you have a good weekend, if that's what it is to you. But for the rest of you, have a fantastic one. Be safe. I appreciate it very much, all the views I get, and I will see you in the movies. Bye for now. Merry Christmas, guys.